Well, thank you all for coming to join us for another annual meeting. This year we're in the beautiful community of Cannon Falls. Cannon River Winery has been gracious enough to allow us to host the event here. Let's give them a round of applause. What a beautiful venue. Without the following sponsors, this event wouldn't be possible, our work wouldn't be possible, so I want to take a second just to recognize them. We'll go through the event sponsors, our Great River Energy and Minnesota Energy Resources. Our supporting sponsors, we can hold the applause till the end. Our supporting sponsors are Darylyn Power, Market and Johnson, Mississippi Welding Supply, Think Bank, and Xcel Energy. Let's give those folks a round of applause. We have some great presentations from our team members this morning. We have a state of the organization conversation with Ron. You're gonna have some fun. We have some great food from Cannon River Catering. We have some great coffee in the back. At the end, some folks are gonna be golfing, and we're gonna have some, we're gonna have a wine tasting since we're at our winery. Why not, right? Breakfast wine is still good wine. Before we get started, I want to invite a couple of our event sponsors up to just say a few words. I'd like to invite Aaron Sparks from Great River Energy up. Aaron also serves on our CEDA board. Please welcome Aaron.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for allowing me a minute to just introduce myself. As Chris said, my name is Aaron Sparks, and I'm with Great River Energy. For those of you who don't know who Great River Energy is, we are a wholesale electric cooperative serving 27 member-owner distribution cooperatives throughout the state of Minnesota. And collectively, our service territory is very rural. So we are well aligned with CEDA in our support and dedication to rural America. We find that CEDA is an easy organization to support. And if you care about rural America and you see the work that they're doing, it's a no-brainer. And this event is really one of my favorite events that I attend all year. I always leave this event feeling energized and optimistic and really in awe of what is going on out there in rural America. And so we love to sponsor this event, love to attend this event. Happy to be here with you all today and look forward to the presentations. Thank you.
I would also like to invite Paul O'Sullivan from Minnesota Energy Resources up.
Hello, can you all hear me? My name is Paul O'Sullivan. I'm with Minnesota Energy Resources, the natural gas company, and I do external relations and account management for Minnesota Energy Resources. And I would also like to introduce my counterpart and colleague here, Nicole McCarthy. I serve the southern part of the state, and Nicole serves the central part of the state, and we share the northern part of the state. We serve 179 communities throughout the state, and we are happy to be here to support all your efforts in the economic development of the various communities. We actually serve quite a few of the same communities that CEDA serves. So now I do want to say, when it comes to development and developing new areas, coming up with hard economic costs of what it costs to serve a new development with natural gas is a tough thing to do when a development is just in the planning and speculative stages. Although please reach out to us as soon as possible when you know some sort of development is going on, and we can guide you through the process. And as the project develops and more specific information comes forth about exactly what kind of facilities are going to be in the development and what the natural gas needs of those facilities is, then we can get harder numbers on exactly what it would cost to bring natural gas to any new development. Now, other ways of obviously encouraging economic development in communities is not only new developments, but improving existing facilities. And in that effort, we offer great rebate and incentive programs for the improved efficiency of not only natural gas equipment, but overall operating efficiency of facilities. So, and one other program that I'd like to bring your attention to that could help with economic development is our charitable giving programs. We offer charitable donations and grants to organizations and programs that support community and neighborhood development, education, the environment, and arts and culture. And developing programs like that throughout communities can really inject economic energy into a community. We also offer foundation grants for more bricks and mortar type projects for community buildings and parks and environmental things like that, sort of bricks and mortar type things. So again, for all your economic development needs as it relates to natural gas, please reach out to Minnesota Energy Resources, either me, Paul O'Sullivan, or Nicole McCarthy, and we will help you out. And we'd like to thank CEDA for putting on this event, and thank you all for what you do for the economic development of Minnesota and the communities you live in. Thank you.
Ultimately, what Aaron said about energizing you guys as the stakeholders of economic development across the state of Minnesota, into Iowa, into Wisconsin, that's really what we want to do with our events. We want to come together, have some fun, enjoy some great food and camaraderie, and talk about ways to continue to do cool stuff in rural communities. And I think the partners around each of your tables, I'm hoping you see some new faces that you haven't sat with before. Introducing yourself to this network of people in this room, I think, is an amazing source of tools and resources to be able to get things done in your communities. So when we have some social time and we're going to eat lunch, hopefully you'll take a second to go and introduce yourself to some of the folks around the room that maybe you haven't met before. Ultimately, our presentations are geared towards energizing you as well. We want to, every year at this event specifically, invite some of our team members up to talk about some of the cool work that they're doing in our communities and allow you guys to hear firsthand some of those things and see how it might apply to your region, your community as well. Our presentations today are no different. You're going to hear some really, really exciting things that are going on in some of our communities, and our Rockstar staff that's doing these things is here to tell you about them. Our first presentation is on our grant writing department. As we've grown, our ability to help serve our communities has grown as well, and we've created departments around the things that we're hearing our communities continue to talk about. We were born over 35 years ago as a grant writing organization. That's always going to be a piece of who we are because it's a big part of how we get things done in our rural communities. So we want to tell you about our grants department, and we've invited Kelly Wilkins and Courtney Berge Swanson from our grants department to give you a little bit more background on the department and talk about some of the processes that they go through. So help me welcome Kelly and Courtney up.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here. I'm Courtney Berge Swanson. I work with CEDA as Vice President of Development and Collaborative Services. And I'm Kelly Wilkins. I'm a community grant specialist. A little bit of height difference here, and I'm wearing heels. She's not. So today, we just wanted to tell you a little bit about our grants department and what we do. We have kind of three major focuses, so we'll be kind of passing the mic back and forth to tell you a little bit about that, and then we hope to also share some inspirational stories of some projects we've worked on in recent years to maybe get the wheels turning of what you could do in your community. So the three major focuses of our grants department are authoring grants for CEDA. We are a nonprofit, a 501c3, and so we are seeking philanthropic support to help keep our costs affordable for our communities. We also do contract grant writing services, which is the bulk of our work. We work with communities, organizations, different initiatives to help them offer grants and provide resources for their projects. And then lastly, we also provide grant support for our team. We know all of you are working on different initiatives in your communities, and so we want to help our team provide the best level of grant authorship that they can. So to dive a little deeper into the ways that we support CEDA as a nonprofit, really we just try to look not only for operating support like every nonprofit, but also for strategic initiatives that can help our communities. So a few examples of those include a grant from the Otto Bremer Trust that we were able to secure that has helped us build a proprietary market gap analysis tool. Tracy from Cracker Jack is here, and we worked with her to put together this tool that helps look at demographics and information to attract businesses. So in practice, I guess, I also serve as the community, the economic development director in Spring Grove with my colleague Rebecca. And we were able to use this tool to look at the exact demographics of our community, figure out just how much money we could be harnessing by putting a new restaurant in. And so we were able to use that information to launch a restaurant challenge and attract a restaurant to our downtown. So there's a lot of unique things that we can do within that. So if you have interest and are trying to attract a certain business, that's one of the opportunities that our grants department has helped put into place. And then we also recently launched a project called the Rural Business Innovation Lab that was funded through a grant by Compeer Financial, but that's just going to be a little teaser because our colleague Robert's going to tell you a little bit more about that later.
Okay, and we have our contract grant writing services, and as Courtney said, this is kind of the bulk of what we do, and this really allows us to contract with communities or entities directly who need help with any grant writing that they are seeking. So we thought it would be helpful just to kind of walk through our process a little bit and what that looks like. So first, what we do is really learn more about you and your project and what you're trying to get done. We review the grant information and make sure that your project is eligible and is a good fit for that grant. From there, we can really create a custom scope of work dependent on how much assistance you would like, and we can determine a not to exceed number of hours for that scope of work. And that really depends on the community readiness, the size of the grant you're going after, and a few other factors. And then we are able to provide a grant contract for you. And then thirdly, we develop a work plan. We look at the grant materials and see kind of those key dates, the deadlines, things like that, and we can work backwards and get that timeline set up so we're all on the same page. And it's good to remember at this point that collaboration is key. You know, you're not so much handing the baton off to us as much as bringing us in the fold and kind of making us a little part of your team. So the last slide was kind of what you can expect from our end as we get started in the grant writing process. And this slide is more kind of things that you could do that would help make your grant as competitive and successful as possible. So we kind of have that graph on the left. And so these are some preliminary things that you can do that are really helpful before you even start applying or searching for grants. So first, identifying a need. You know, what is it that you want to get done? And then from there, we like to be able to illustrate the need, you know, show, not tell. And so we need that documentation to really kind of make your need competitive. And then program development. It's good to identify who is going to be doing what in your project. And having those preliminary budget conversations. You know, what kind of budget do you want? Are you able to spend? Is there a match required for the grant? You know, having those conversations before you bring a grant writer in are very key. So then I would say at that point, you're really ready to start looking for and applying for grants. And then we have a few tips for success. Funding follows good ideas. So again, it's really helpful to have that program in mind before you start looking for grants. It's much harder to create a grant to create a program to really fit a grant. And there's a few reasons for that. When a grant is open, there's limited time. So it will save you a lot of heartache, some costs, if you are able to have basically everything ready to go when you want to apply for a grant. And it's a good idea to look at the reporting requirements. If you are awarded, do you have the capacity to work on those reporting requirements? What is your plan for that? Okay, and then the third thing that we work on as the grants department is support for our CEDA team. In their contracted communities, our team works very hard in writing grants and being able to try to get kind of fun things going. And we're able to offer them support in a few ways. We help with grant research, we proof and edit their drafts, and then we also keep on file successful grant applications for our team to reference as they are writing their own grants. And so if you have any questions or ideas that you'd like to talk to the grants team about, contact your CEDA representative and we'd be happy to jump on a virtual call and kind of go through any ideas you have. So here, you know, speaking of our CEDA team, we're very proud of the work that they've done. In 2022, our team authored 56 successful grants totaling over $2.5 million. And we've seen kind of a number of those grants fall into a few categories, so we just kind of wanted to highlight a few of those here. So parks and recreation and arts and culture, these are really fun projects and are projects that can help kind of boost that civic pride and drive those tourism dollars. The agriculture and childcare are, you know, both key pieces in keeping our rural economies going, and so we do see a lot of those come up. Broadband is kind of a newer initiative that we're seeing a lot of grants for, and this is just really key in making sure that our rural, unserved, and underserved areas are getting connected. And infrastructure, you know, there's always going to be a need for infrastructure grants, so we try to assist on those and make everyone happy.
So we thought we'd walk through a few projects that we worked on and kind of get the wheels turning, give you some ideas and inspiration for things that you could do or perhaps CEDA Grants Department could even help you with. So we'll just run through a few of these examples. The first is a project that I'm particularly proud of because I also serve as the Spring Grove EDA Director with Rebecca, and we were able to get some dollars from the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation to create this park in a defunct city alley. So we paid a local artist to have a mural there. We bought these cafe tables and market lights, and it really has transformed an area of downtown that was looking pretty bleak before. And so this is a fun, easy, low stakes project that we were able to help secure funding for. Kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum is a big grant, almost $1.5 million in deed funding for a border-to-border grant. This was done in Fillmore County, and we often do work with rural cooperatives, whether that's telecommunications or energy. So this is a really great project to provide broadband infrastructure for some homes in rural Fillmore County. A shout out to Orinoco. They were able to work with CEDA to author a DNR grant for the Alice Park project. I know a lot of your communities are always looking for parks and trails and recreational opportunities, and the DNR does have a lot of opportunities out there, so we're always happy to chat about those. And on that infrastructure piece, we thought we'd give you an example from Kenyon. We worked with the city there to author a BDPI grant from the state of Minnesota that helped put in some infrastructure so that they could develop phase 1 of their industrial park. So those are some of the examples we've worked on. And then because we're here in Cannon Falls, we also wanted to talk a little bit about a new venture for us, which is working with individual entrepreneurs and farmers, specifically with the Value Added Producer Grant. So I'll let Kelly introduce our next speaker as we hear about the Cannon River Winery and the work we did with them.
Yeah, so we worked on a USDA Value Added Producer Grant for Cannon River Winery, and this was kind of one of the first producers that we worked with, and we are just so excited to be in this beautiful space today. And we have Ron Stoll here, the owner of Cannon River Winery, that is willing to come up and share some of his thoughts on what the grant has been able to do for his business. And yeah, so welcome, Ron.
Thanks, Kelly. So, welcome to Cannon River Winery, welcome to Cannon Falls. I'm really everybody sees there's an exciting group of people. Boy, good morning. I work for a number of corporations, and these are pretty quiet, pretty dull. There's not a lot of chatter, and this is definitely one group. So I'm going to be joining you the rest of the day and night. So River Wine was established about 21 years ago. We are the fourth oldest in the state, and we are the largest winery. We produce about 150,000 to 160,000 bottles a year. We distribute to about 500 liquor stores and restaurants in Minnesota outside of our current place and Wisconsin. One of the purposes of the value-added grant here was always to pursue additional areas of Wisconsin and northern Minnesota. It was actually a pleasure working with CEDA on this opportunity. We actually had a chance to work on it twice. The first one was 2 years ago. We put the whole package together, and we decided we liked working with it so much that we omitted a key document and were considered non-compliant. So we decided to talk to Ron personally many times on the phone. I turned a negative into a positive. We submitted a second package, was phenomenal. I really appreciate that. And we were awarded not only a reward of $250,000 grant, but they said the proposal was one of the best they'd ever seen in Minnesota, and it was highly ranked nationally. So congratulations.
Wow, yes.
So one more quick thing. This building is like 140 years old, built back in the late 1890s, 1880s. And this room right here was everything from a ballroom in the 20s. Then it was a basketball court for the high school for Cannon Falls.
Oh, wow.
Then it became a roller rink. We still have the stone wheels with the actual seats. It goes back quite a ways. And then about 8, 9 years ago, it's turned into an event center. So a lot of history upstairs, downstairs. It was a car dealership, a blacksmith foundry, and a horse farm. And I just wanted everything else. So it had a lot of uses to repurpose. And we're excited to have you guys here. And have a fantastic day, guys. One more thing. Follow the love before you leave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, so our Courtney's and my contact information is up on this slide, but feel free if you have any questions to find us today or email us later. You know, I know kind of some of those questions pop up after the fact, so feel free to email us and we'd be happy to discuss any of your projects with you. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Courtney. Thanks, Ron. Well, I think the next topic is probably something that literally every community across the country, probably across most of the world, is talking about and trying to figure out. I think childcare is a big piece of every economic development conversation all over the world. So we have been contacted by Nobles County a couple years ago. I think we started the conversation. They were trying to figure out new ways to look at the challenges around childcare for their county, and brought CEDA into the conversation. And we have 2 team members that work on that project in Nobles County, and I would like to invite Angie Coppo and Josh. You have to help me with their last name.
That's all right, Schutz.
Schutz. I pronounce it wrong every time I talk to Josh. So Angie Coppo and Josh Schutz are going to tell you about some of the exciting work that they're doing over in Nobles County around the child care issue. So let's welcome them up.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think height difference is a bit of a CEDA tradition. I had to open with that, I'm sorry. I promise no more cringy jokes for the rest of the presentation. I'm Joshua Schutz, aka Tall Guy.
Hi, I'm Angie Coppola, and I am wearing heels, and we still have this height difference.
And we are super excited to talk to you today about the Nobles County Child Care Project. To my knowledge, this is the first contract. Sorry about that. Thank you. To my knowledge, this is actually the first contract exclusively dedicated to childcare across CEDA, I believe. For those of you who don't know, Nobles County is actually in southwest Minnesota. I think it's the second most southwest part of the state, just to the west of my hometown, Jackson County. So just for an overview, you guys, childcare is a huge economic development issue, especially for workers and businesses. If you're a worker and you do not have a place to send your kids when they're in that, birth to age 5 range area, it's really hard to be able to get to work. It's tough to be able to start a business. It's really hard to be able to get up there every day and make arrangements. Some people have to work split shifts where mom works one half of the day and dad works the other, which is brutal for families. And we know families are the foundation for economic development. And it's hard for businesses. We hear from large employers and small businesses alike that they're losing workers because of this issue. I think our largest employer says they're losing workers regularly. And it's just something that overall, if you aren't seeing it, you may not be looking. Because once you start looking, you see it absolutely everywhere. And it's going to affect most of us throughout our lives if it hasn't already, or it already has affected us. So Nobles County contracted with CEDA starting last summer, 2022, to work on this issue. So we're going to run through the challenge that we're seeing, the priorities we've set up kind of to address it, the solutions that we're looking at, and then the next steps as we pursue those solutions. So the challenge is this, childcare. There is, in fact, not enough of it. Nobles County, by current data, has a shortage of 952 childcare slots. Now, think about that. We have a population of around 21,000. So that's an enormous shortage. And those numbers are not unheard of throughout the state. 45% of that need is in the infant and toddler categories. Now, some of you who are thinking about supply and demand might think, well, gosh, wouldn't we just want to put up a center that caters exclusively to infants and toddlers? Problem with that is that staff to child ratios are very, very strict in Minnesota. And so you're not going to be able to get a center that just, or even an in-home that just serves those age categories to cash flow. It will not work. And the second issue is that providers need support. It can be really lonely, especially if you're an in-home childcare provider. The average childcare wage nationwide is $13.22 an hour. I mean, we have businesses hiring all the time that pay more. And moreover, if you're an in-home provider, you're running your own business basically alone. So providers really do need our support because they're doing that critical work of caring for our kids in that early period when their brains are developing the most. Those years are going to set them up for the rest of their lives, and we need to make sure that we care about those years. And finally, we have 60 languages spoken in Nobles County, including around 16 primary languages. We're one of the most diverse communities in southwest Minnesota, and I think statewide. So it's really important that any solution that we look at takes that into account and is accessible to folks. And that leads me to priorities.
Before I dive into the priorities, I just wanted to mention quick the different types of licensed childcare in Minnesota in case you're not familiar as we're talking about that. The Department of Human Services licenses the childcare centers. So those are typically a large building with multiple rooms and several staff members and a director usually. And so the different rooms are usually divided by age groups in each room with different staff. And then the county, with support from the Department of Human Services, licensed the Family Child Care Center, which most of you probably call in-home. So that's where usually one provider is caring for about 10 children in their home. And those are from ages 6 weeks through school age. And not to be confusing, but there's also a new type of license. It's very similar to the family child care, but it is called special family child care. And that's where you're licensed just like that family child care provider in your home, but operate out of a different location. So say you're interested in starting to do child care, but you live in an apartment and don't really have the space, you could rent another area to do that. And as we mentioned, when we started this job, we sat down and kind of talked about what some of our main priorities were. The first one is provider support. The second one is slot creation. And the third one is community engagement. And I will go over those in the next few slides. So our first priority was provider support. As Josh mentioned, it can be pretty isolating, especially for those family child care providers. They're often in their home for very long days with a lot of children that have a lot of energy. They usually don't see many other adults unless it's parents picking up or dropping off their kids. Through previous jobs as well as my personal life, I hear a lot of providers say, I just wish we could get out a little bit. We're stuck in this basement or, kind of a big living room usually. So we worked pretty hard with another nonprofit and secured funds for transportation. So we had a school bus, which is in that first picture. We've done this twice so far, actually. The bus was able to pick up the providers and the kids in their care that chose to come to these events. We went to the JBS Fieldhouse, which is in Worthington. It's a wonderful place. It's an indoor play space that just opened. The kids were able to run and climb and play. There's a playground in there too that's not pictured. And then that last picture, you can see our local librarian came to one of the events too. She brought her materials from Story Hour that they do at the library. So she read books and she did a project with them and it was wonderful. The providers, a few of them texted me later that afternoon and said the kids slept great those days. So yeah, they went really well and we're hoping to do more. The hardest issue is that transportation. The bus is very expensive to run. And even if the child care providers take the appropriate car seat training to transport kids, they don't have vehicles big enough to take all of them there. So that bus was really key. Another huge component for provider support is grants, obviously the funding that we've been talking about today. Josh will go through those in a little bit. I've been working, since I started every month, I have put together a newsletter for the providers to just try to show some support to them. This is an example, this was May, I believe, first page, back page. I usually highlight one or two of the providers. These two both happen to be in Worthington, but I include the whole county. I usually put like a craft idea or a healthy snack idea. This one was close to Mother's Day, so I put an inexpensive craft idea that maybe if they wanted to give to a special person in their life. I always put some type of business or tax tip in there too, since they are running their own business. This newsletter goes just to the family child care providers. But this month I highlighted a very special event. It was a save the date because in July we're putting on a child care provider appreciation event. And that is for the center staff in our county as well as the family child care providers. So they get to come to the Round Lake Winery, have a really nice dinner. We are offering professional headshots from 2 local photographers, some pampering from our local health food store, and they will have 2 hours of training provided by First Children's Finance. And also we're hoping that they all get to leave with a really nice raffle prize donated from local businesses. Our second priority was slot creation. Obviously, the best way to have more childcare options is to have more slots available. So we've worked on a few things in that regard. We have held 4 events called How to Be a Provider. There's a little flyer there. That one is actually in Spanish. We had English and Spanish versions all around the county. Each of these events that we hosted, we had a Spanish interpreter available also. At those events, it was Josh and myself, the county child care licensor, and staff from Child Care Aware and Milestones, which is a newer program. And people that are interested in learning what it takes to become licensed for family child care could come ask questions. It was a really casual atmosphere. The child care licensor had applications if anybody wanted to take one and start that licensing process. We were able to put those events on again with funds from other nonprofits. With slot creation, obviously it's also working with businesses that want to expand or new providers that are looking to get into childcare. There's a couple that we're pretty excited about. The first one is the Rushmore Community Center. So Rushmore is a very small town in our county, and they have a former school that they just use as a community center. And they've actually tried this for years to try to have individuals wanting to run their own business and rent space there essentially. So it's like I mentioned earlier about that special family childcare where they would be licensed as a family provider, but operating their business out of a different space. Similar to that project is the CEDA Church that is in Worthington. They just moved into a new worship space. They have a beautiful sanctuary, and in their building, they also have extra rooms that they're not using. And so similar to Rushmore, they have heard about the childcare need, and they really would like to use those rooms for family childcare providers. So for both of those projects, we have helped arrange funding sources for architects to come. As you can imagine, the licensing process, it's pretty detailed. There's a lot that goes into it. And before the fire marshal will even come do their inspection, they want an architect to come. And architects are very expensive if you have not worked with them. But they have done some wonderful work. We're in the process of kind of getting some of those reports back and then seeing if these projects are able to financially go forward with their plans. Another one that's really exciting is in Worthington, one of the child care centers. They have been running for quite some time. The current director has been there 19 years, I know. And they only serve preschool and school-age children at their center. And they really would like to have infants and toddlers to help out with the shortage. They rent their space in a church basement. And so they have maxed out their space, and they would have to add up in order to host those infants and toddlers. So again, we have been working with them, and architects and an engineer actually had to come and help with that project too. We're hopeful that they can either add on there or possibly look at another building, but they are excited to have some help with that project. And then, of course, as I mentioned, along with these projects, funding source is a main component, and Josh will go over some grants that he has worked very hard on.
So, forgot again. So, early on, we applied for $150,000 in funding through the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development's Child Care Economic Development Grant. We received that funding, and it was paired with a $400,000 investment from Nobles County into creating these child care grant programs. So I'm just going to run through them. We have two of them. The first one is the capacity and expansion grant. So as Angie mentioned, it's often really, really capital intensive expense in order to either start a new child care business or to expand one that already exists. And so this grant is really aimed at helping offset some of those costs that are related to creating new slots. And it's not just open to centers, it's open to new family child care providers and the developers of special family child care areas, aka pod systems, which is kind of a shorthand term used for them, as well as new providers working within those facilities. So, the expansion grant is focused primarily on that slot creation space. It could be something like sprinkler system installation. Those are extremely expensive. Could be something like getting windows resized. Pretty much any expense that you would expect to run into when you're starting a new child care business. The second one is our provider fund grant. So some of you may know, and it's a secret, but I'll share with you, having 10 kids in your house equals your house sometimes gets a little dinged up. And so because of that, providers sometimes run into things like broken doors, playground equipment gets worn out, toys get broken or need to be replaced. And sometimes when those expenses all happen at once, or when a number of them happen at once, it can be a bit of a financial burden. And so we set up this program to kind of alleviate that. So it funds small projects needed for providers to run their existing business or provide better care for their children. So it could be something like, as I mentioned, your front door breaks. You want your patio to be a little better so that kids can bike on it. New toys, things of that nature, pack and plays, cribs, pretty much anything. And we keep it fairly wide open just so that knowing that there's a lot of different expenses that you can see when you're running a child care business, so that we can help with those. And we've had applications where I think, wow, this doesn't seem like something at first blush that would look like something you need for childcare, but then you read the application and realize, oh wow, it's actually really important. So to review those grants, we put together a grants review committee of 5 folks, former childcare licensor, a former childcare provider, as well as a county commissioner, community services director, and a rep from Childcare Aware who's done work with these similar grants in her organization. And so far we've had, I believe, 12 applicants, and we've funded a large number of them. So I'm really excited of the work that we've been doing with this. It really does move the needle for the community. It truly does, because having the funding for these projects allows these providers to serve the children of our community better. And talking about community, that brings us to our third priority, community engagement, which Angie will jump into.
Thank you. So outreach is obviously important in community engagement and making sure that the community understands that this is an issue that affects everybody living there. That first picture is actually the county child care licensor and I. We were invited to a Game of Life event for 9th graders at the Adrian High School. Some of you might be familiar with that event. They kind of went around the room and they were given a career and a salary. And then at our table, they learned a little bit about the costs of childcare, and we also could answer questions if they had them about what it takes to become a child care provider if they were to choose that career. They also had me speak at one of their college classes that they are offering at the high school for early childhood. And then we have created a task force and are involved with the Rural Child Care Innovation Program, the RCCIP, and Josh is going to go over both of those.
So the Child Care Task Force is basically a collection of stakeholders who understand this is an issue and want to be involved in the issue. They meet monthly for about an hour, and they help us do everything from marketing our events to just raising awareness in the community in general. We've got employers on there. We have local municipalities, some of which are engaged in some of the projects that we discussed earlier, as well as our rep from Childcare Aware and a number of other folks from the community. And task force is great because it just creates a bit of a sense of ownership of the issue. And it also gives a chance for people to understand what we're doing and get that message out into the broader community, which I think is great. From there, we have the Rural Child Care Innovation Program through First Children's Finance. So we applied for and were awarded this process last year. And we've started in earnest building a core team of stakeholders from the community. Some of them are from our task force and do some crossover, and some of them aren't. And that program kind of splits the team into 3 subcommittees. So we have one team that's the investigate team, and they do things like surveying. So we're currently working on getting a survey out in multiple languages to parents, employers, family child care providers, and center directors in Nobles County, as well as holding focus groups to learn a little bit more from people from different backgrounds, how this issue affects them. And then we have an inform team that goes to the various stakeholding entities of the community, whether that be business organizations, economic development organizations, local nonprofits, et cetera, and kind of makes the case for why A, they should care, and B, why they should go a step beyond caring and be active in the issue. And then we have our invite team, which is planning 2 amazing events, one of which is a provider appreciation event to kick off July 19th, that was mentioned earlier. And then on September 6th, we're going to be hosting a town hall event where the public will actually get to engage with the issue, learn about it, kind of speak their minds, and we can get some of that real community energy going. And that leads me to next steps. So in the slot creation area, we're going to keep working on those facility projects that Angie discussed and continue to identify new spaces where we might be able to do similar projects. And we're going to also help new providers with grant applications and existing providers with those as well. For provider support, we will be hosting that provider appreciation event on July 19th. We're going to continue that newsletter and continue to host providers and kids events as well. And then for community engagement on September 6th, we'll have our big town hall event with First Children's Finance. And we will continue to hold focus groups and push that survey out so we can get as much testimony from people as possible about this issue and what kinds of solutions they want to see. Because at the end of the day, we are serving the community.
And that concludes our presentation. Thank you for coming. Our contact information is listed on there if you have any questions about anything that we went through today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Think about that. For a long time, I used to be known as tall guy. And in about a month's time, we hired Josh at 6'9" and Kurt at 6'8". Now I lost my identity, so now I'm just Chris. Wait, the next guy's name is also Chris, so I guess I don't have that anymore either. In thinking about my time with CEDA, earlier this year I celebrated my 18th year with the organization, so thank you. I appreciate that. My CEDA career is finally an adult. But those of you that know me know I'm never going to grow up. So in my time here, I've gotten to see our conversations around economic development tables really evolve. And that's, thanks to the folks that are in this room, the stakeholders in this room, starting to see that this work is more than just trying to figure out how to get the next big industrial project into your industrial park in your community. There's a lot of pieces that go into it. Some of them that we're talking about today maybe didn't enter into those conversations back then. Things like childcare and our next topic. I think our communities are starting to realize the impact that community events can have on attracting people to their community to celebrate, people to their community to have fun, that eventually look at this community as a place that they want to live or open a business. And so there are a lot of really, really cool things that I think have come out of conversations, again, that maybe didn't exist around economic development tables even 18 years ago when I started, that now our communities are taking a really holistic approach in going after to create buzz, to create energy around themselves, and hopefully attract new residents and new businesses. So with that, I'd like to turn over the mic to Chris Hahn to tell you about some exciting things they're doing in Spring Valley around community events.
Hi, everybody. I'm just Chris. Unless there's all three Chris's are together, they go by Steve, and I'll answer to Steve. It's just easier, trust me. So we talked a little bit today about organizing community events, and I'm not going to stand behind. I'm going to walk. So if I'm like ready to knock something over with a cord, just give me the heads up. There you go. Awesome. Thank you. So who here has ever been asked to organize an event? Okay. How many of you love that opportunity? You were like, let me at it. I'm going to do this. It's going to be awesome. How many of you were like this guy? Okay. Yeah, that's kind of how I am too. I'm like, here we go. Great. But some perspective might offer some reassurance. So how many here played with Legos? Or know what Legos are? Okay. Come on, more of you know what Legos, come on, right? Come on, it's okay. They make adult sets for Legos too, it's all good. So we're gonna compare Legos versus our communities. And I use the Lego reference a lot, and I'm gonna those of the team that have spent a day with me know I use that reference quite a bit, but here's some of the reasons I do that. Legos come in a wide variety of shapes, sizes, and colors. I mean, there's a little small ones, there's the big plate Legos, you can build whatever you want out of them. You know what, so do our communities. Now, typically, we're in communities under 5,000 people, but some of our contracts are county contracts. Like they mentioned, their county is 21,000. I happen to be in Fillmore County, which is about 22,000 people. So, you know what? Some Lego sets are large. You can get the super Star Wars Star Destroyer, like 10 million piece Lego set if you want, or you can get the little truck at Walmart or whatever, if you know, at the checkout line for your child, if it's a 20-piece kit to keep them occupied. You know what? Our communities are big and small too. The same set of Legos, now those of you familiar with Legos, if you flip the box over on the back, it'll show you like 2 or 3 other sets you can build from the same pieces in the kit. Our communities have that too. The same set of stakeholders can be used to do different things and build a wide variety of different events, projects, those types of things. Legos encourage creativity. They also encourage you to try on a light at night so you don't step on one because that's really painful. But our communities allow us to leverage creativity. I mean, we go into communities, start to meet people and say, wow, this person's really good at X, or they really have a passion for this. And that's really important. And lastly, Legos are awesome. So guess what our communities are? Communities are awesome, exactly. So again, if you've been asked to create an event or do an event, I always look at this and say, you probably have more experience than you may think you have. So the first thing I like to say, and I'm a big vision, mission person, if anybody's ever spending time with me or, walk through some of the things we do, clearly understanding your objective for your event is the biggest thing. That's the most important right away. What are you trying to do? What's the purpose of the event? Are you trying to generate awareness? Are you trying to educate and inform people? Engage the community? Is there a call to action with your event? Are you trying to promote a project or a cause? They talked about the child care events, so they have the engage team and they have the planning team and the research team. Those are all really important aspects of that. Are you just trying to bring people together? What are the other benefits? Financial benefits. Obviously, if you're planning a community event like a farmer's market, the businesses and the chamber want to be involved because it's not only a good opportunity for them to make revenue, but it's also marketing. It's also a way to tell their story and share their business with the community. So for us, was it a farmer's market? Maybe. Or was it a block party? You know what? It was both. It says right in our thing, Spring Valley Summer Market with that block party feel. And that kind of came together with, we were all sitting at the tap house and said, well, we should have it on Wednesdays. Okay, what are we going to call it? Wednesdays downtown? No. How about Wednesdays on Broadway? And it just kind of stuck because the Broadway is the area that we shut off in Spring Valley, the two downtown blocks of Broadway. So basically it evolved into Wednesdays on Broadway is inviting local area businesses, vendors, communities, organizations, youth groups, faith communities, and more to celebrate what makes our community great. And that's our community, all aspects of our community. That's actually off of our event page, which you'll kind of see a screenshot of later. But that's what really was the goal of this event. Bring people together, make those connections within your community that you may not have in another opportunity for, and connect. Having the clear objective at the beginning really is going to guide you through the process. It's really important to have those pieces together. So what's in the Lego bucket? What assets do you have? What's in the bucket of assets? Well, there's a lot of them that come to mind right away. As economic development people, we work very closely with the city, and it's like, well, the city administrator, the city council, Parks and Rec, street department, economic development, public library, any part or line item, if you will, of the city budget, obviously, is a good asset to have, and they're a critical part of the process if you're doing a public event. But then you have civic and philanthropic resources as well. These are going to be your chambers of commerce, your business alliances, your commercial clubs, your Kiwanis clubs. Kiwanis is a global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world one child, one community at a time. I finally learned that after being Kiwanis for over a year. I can just do that now. You don't have to give me a little card anymore. But again, they work with children. They work with educating, making community a better place for children. Your Lions groups, area foundations. Smith is one we work with quite a bit, Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation. So again, those are ones you look at and say, okay, that makes sense. How do we involve? How do we engage? How do we make that happen? Don't forget your other community resources and pieces. Talk about your school districts. Talk, your school classes. Is there a way economic development can be involved in the school? And some people might say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why is the city working in a school classroom? I'll show you in a minute. Local festival boards, garden clubs. If you have an event and you need decoration, or they're doing a 4th of July party or a summer market, garden clubs came to us and said, hey, we want to be a part of this. What can we do? The local theater group. Every summer we have last year was the Wizard of Oz. Every year around Ag Days in Spring Valley, the Brave Community Theater, which is the oldest locally owned theater in Minnesota, does a production. Last year was the Wizard of Oz. They were part of our event. They said, how can we help? They came down and marketed and engaged with the people at the event. Art club, your faith communities, your food shelves, anything or any part or organization or person has a contact with your community is an asset in the Lego bucket. And again, some of them may be really big pieces, some could be really small pieces, but they're all important. This is a really cool picture for me, and I'll tell you why. We're putting an 18-hole disc golf course into Spring Valley. And we have a plasma cutter at the high school. And we've got two ag educators that are all about, let's get our students involved. Let's do some really neat things with real world projects. And I said, hey, would you be willing to look at developing the toppers for our disc golf course? And I said, can you get that in your curriculum somehow? I said, it's basically just a flange with a number on it. And she looked at me and she said, you know what? They have to build a flange as one of their assignments for this class. So at the end of the day, our ag school class, and I don't know how well you can see it on the table, they made 8-inch round steel discs, welded them to a flange that pins into the top of the disc golf basket. And they made it for the entire course. So we not only had community engagement, we had the students in the high school able to manufacture that, and those are going up probably in the next 2 weeks in our community. So just another maybe non-traditional way to engage some assets in our community. This is really important too, this next part. Build a team with different skills and talents. A lot of times in small communities, it's kind of the same group of people, and I'm not discounting or taking away any of their contributions, but the same people are always the ones coming up saying, hey, I want to be a part of this, I want to do this. Which is great, but how do you build a more diverse team with different skills? How do you make that welcoming to everybody in your community? Different skills and talents and connections are useful to your team. This is a picture of our motley bunch sitting at the tap house at noon on a day that they're closed, trying to figure out what our event, what we're working on for the Wednesdays on Broadway event, which we just had. It just started again this year. If you look at that, and the reason I took the pictures, I said, you know what, this is really meaningful to me. If you look at who's there, I'm sorry, we can't see that well. We've got a city council member, we've got a business owner, we have the bait shop owner, we have the president of the local theater organization, we have the founder of the Fins and Films Festival, we have someone who works for Mayo Clinic in logistics who volunteered to do all the events and coordinating and the sign up for the vendors. We have a city council person, we have a former Parks and Board administrator from the metro area who understands how to work through some of these ordinances and everything else with the community. So, very lucky to have that group, but I thought it was a really neat picture because if you look at that group, you wouldn't think that, and then you look at all the different hidden skill sets in that group, and it's really no different than this room. If you look around this room and you think about all the different skill sets, all the different capabilities and talents and passions people have, you may work in economic development, you may work in a community, you may teach, you may work for an organization, but what else do you do? I happen to be an adjunct professor at Willow State, teach marketing on the side, so there's other things that people are capable of doing. Never forget that people engage and want to be a part of a group because it gives back to them. There's something in it for them. They're not going to just do it because people want to see them volunteer and engage. There's something in it for them. It means something to them. So when you do this with your team, make sure you engage that and leverage them and allow them to be passionate about what they're doing while they're helping the organization. Communication. I don't know if anybody here does Clifton Strengths, used to be Strengths Finders. My number one is context, my second is communication. So I tend to over-communicate, which can be good and bad, I don't know. I'll probably pick up the phone versus a text, which I know is not always ideal. So the messaging for Wednesdays on Broadway, which is our once a month event in Spring Valley, was basically the group we had, hey, let's close off downtown. It's gonna be great, like the old crazy days, let's close it, we'll have a street party, it'll be awesome, it'll be great. We'll close the street off at 2 o'clock. Great, let's do that. Road closed. So road is closed. Now who does that affect? Well, it affects the chiropractic place who we just blocked off the front of their street, their patients who have limited access or limited mobility. Now they're having issues getting to their appointments. It affects active PT, who's another block out that has appointments all throughout the day. Don't forget to consider who it might affect and how it might affect them. It doesn't take away from the enthusiasm for your event. It doesn't mean your event's good, bad, or indifferent, but reach out to these people, communicate often. Hey, we're thinking of doing this, how does it affect you? There was a little bit of pushback on the front end, but once we explained what the event was for, our businesses were great. They were like, you know what, we can rearrange some of our scheduling for that. We have enough time to plan. We accommodated some extra parking where we normally didn't have parking for the first event, which worked great. And they said, you know what, at the end of the day, we probably don't need that, just go ahead and do it. But having those conversations with those businesses was really, really important. Promote, generate interest, and call for action. So when you talk about promotion tools, who here is on Facebook? Hands? Okay, most of us are probably on Facebook. Social media is great. Social media is not everything. We put out the event on social media. That did well. We were lucky enough to partner with the radio station, do a radio ad. that ran last summer for our event. The newspapers covering our ad, or covering our event, I'm sorry. We have an event page on the EDA website, and we'll show you some screenshots later, but there's an entire page dedicated to this event, times, places, who signed up, how to sign up, everything. You can pay online, you can register, you can download the forms. Word of mouth, flyers and posters. We happen to do posters on the sidewalk. We did sidewalk paint with the QR code, and the QR code actually worked. I didn't know you could like spray paint QR codes that worked, but it did. And people hit it, and they were using the QR codes and registering and going to the page to register that way. Be creative. Tractors. Now, what does tractors have to do with a small community? It's not even so much a tractor, but if you park something conspicuously out of place in a small community, I guarantee you'll get a buzz. Some way, shape, or form. That tractor wasn't parked there yesterday, what's going on? And then you go to the salon and the bar and the cafe and you find out who knows about it. We actually did this. We actually took a tractor, parked on the corner with the banner on it and said, coming soon, and people were like, what is going on? Who did that? Has it changed? Which was probably the best way to promote it, but be creative. In a small community, I think most of you agree, sometimes something conspicuously out of place is all it takes to generate a little bit of buzz. Make your event and information to your event accessible and easy to learn more and even to register. So what we did, back a step, online Eventbrite, I think this was the Eventbrite event, is great. But don't forget to allow people the opportunity to register in person, to pick up the phone, to mail it in or drop it off at City Hall or library or one of your offices has a drop box. Make that accessible as well, because not everyone's online. Not everyone's going to try to be able to print that out and sign off. And you can't apply, you can't write a grant on your cell phone or your mobile phone. Grants department appreciate that. You can't fill out documents or government documents typically on your mobile phone. So make sure you have opportunities for people to reach out to you different ways. One thing we did is we made our local nonprofits, so like the libraries, our Alliance, Kiwanis, theater groups, faith communities, we didn't charge them for a booth. We're like, you're part of our community already. If you want to be a part of this, please let us know, we'll sign you up. And a lot of them did, and it was better for it. This is a screenshot, we kind of saw this before. This is our website, this is the event page. But on the event page, it tells you what the dates are, it gives you a map. It also allows, and I know this is hard to see, but it also lets us list everybody that signed up for the event with a link to their website or Facebook page. So when you sign up online, it says, I want to be included, or it's an opt-out. Check the box if you don't want us to promote your business. So that's on there. This is, I know you can't read this, it's not intended for you to read, but that's all the requirements for being a vendor and link to it. It links to that information. And then you can sign up directly online. You can use PayPal, you can use credit card to sign up. You can mail it in. You get a discount for signing up for all 5 events because it's June, July, August, September, October. And it also lets them either fill out online or download the ST19 state tax form, which is really important. If they're selling anything, they have to have that. New this year, if they're not selling anything, they still have to have that for your event. They just have to check, I'm not selling anything. So they started to enforce that as well. But again, all this information is on our event page on the website. If people have trouble, they can call me or they can call the city. We'll print it off, we'll fax it to them, we'll drop it off. We've done all that. Just so make it accessible and easy to learn more about your event. Gather feedback and ask how can we make it better. I think we're probably all, a lot of times we're our own worst critic with something we do. This event was great, but we didn't do this right, or we didn't do that right. That's okay. Just be honest about it and go out and talk to your stakeholders and say, hey, how can we be better? Talk to your team, of course, but talk to the attendees, talk to your vendors, talk to your businesses, talk to the other stakeholders, talk to people that came in from out of town that just came out for the event. Hey, what'd you like? What didn't you like? We did something on Facebook, a little bit of a survey, but again, we had the conversations behind the scenes, a lot of phone calls, calling people and saying, what did you like? What did you not like? We learned that people loved it. We learned that they loved the connection. They did want more food options. So one of the things we did for our first year of the event, we have 2 cafes, a tap house, a brewery, and a pizza place, all within 2 blocks downtown. And we were very cognizant of, look, before we go out and ask for a bunch of food trucks to come in, let's make sure that these businesses are either in or out or what they want to understand it. And they blew the doors off it. I mean, they were absolutely blown away the first couple of events they had. They were appreciative of that. We did share with them that we wanted to have, or that the people had asked for more food options. So we brought in a taco truck and I think an ice cream truck. But again, none of our local businesses serve tacos or ice cream. So we were very cognizant of that as well to help them with that. So again, they wanted more places to eat. They wanted more places to sit and listen to music. One of the cool things about this is the block party aspect of it is we have live musicians come in and play guitar or, folk music or that type of thing. So it's always a good time. And then people can sit, can it be till 9 o'clock? The event ended at 8. We still had the 30-foot picnic table sitting in the street at 10 o'clock with people just hanging around chatting. To the point where we had to hey guys, we got to clean up, which is a good problem to have. It was a successful event. So, lastly, remember to have fun. This is some members of our group, best impression of Abbey Road, which I don't know if we succeeded or not. But we have a really fun group. We've got about 20 people that it's not anybody looking for a pat on the back. It's everyone looking to make a great event for our community. So we're very lucky. This is one of our events last year. This is kind of the downtown area that we have. So now when you're asked to help coordinate an event, you can be like, Steve, you got this. That's all I have. I appreciate your time and thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please come and see me.
There really isn't a Lego set that has 10 million pieces in it, is there? Holy smokes, that gave me PTSD when he said that. My anxiety kicked in. So as you can see, utilizing positive energy in your communities can get some really cool things done. Utilizing positive energy in our organization has helped us get some cool things done too. Our next speaker, Robert Harris III, is going to tell you about a really exciting new venture that we are just getting started with here with CEDA, and tell you about some partnerships and how it's going so far. So with that, I'd like to turn over the mic to Robert Harris.
Well, since nobody is standing next to me, I can be whatever height I want to be. So I'm 6'4" today. But again, I'm Robert Harris III. I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our Rural Business Innovation Lab. First, I'd like to start off by thanking our funding partner, Computer Financial, who's going to be funding this program for the next 3 years, and so we're grateful for that support. As a little bit of an overview, I'm going to talk a little bit about the gap that exists in our normal programming. I'll talk about the predecessor to the Rural Business Innovation Lab, which is the Harvest Entrepreneur Network, or HEN for short. I'll highlight a couple of success stories, lessons learned, and then we'll spend the rest of our time, the majority of our time, talking about the Innovation Lab and introducing you to our cohort members, which is arguably the most exciting part. So as we've heard today, CEDA offers a variety of programming. Our largest program is our community support program, where we work with cities, counties, and organizations and provide fractional economic development staffing. Within that role, we all have the opportunity to play generalists and work on everything from housing development to community marketing. But the part that I really enjoy about my job is being able to sit down one-on-one with our businesses and provide small business counseling. So there wasn't really a mechanism to work with businesses that were not in our communities where we held contracts. And so we developed this initial concept for the Harvest Entrepreneur Network, which was a program funded by the Department of Employment and Economic Development, or DEED, through their Competitive Business Development Grant Program back in the fall of 2019. And the ultimate goal was to provide technical assistance to farmers and ag entrepreneurs. And so we worked with them on a range of different projects, from business planning to access to capital. We helped them with marketing, et cetera. And so, as you can probably tell from the dates, the all too common line is we came up with this really great program, and then COVID happened. And so we pivoted, and there wasn't really the opportunity to do as much in-person programming as we had originally intended. But we did have some great success. And to just highlight a couple of success stories, Cereal Farms, which is in Fillmore County, was coached by my great colleague, Chris Hahn, and he had the opportunity to help them move from running their business on sticky notes and notepads to actually having spreadsheets and a more sophisticated system, as well as helping them outline a capital improvement plan and work on some budgeting so that they could actually expand with intention. And so they went from just having 2 hydroponic tomato production systems to adding additional high tunnel in the first year, a second high tunnel in the third year, and now they're looking to expand up to 4, as well as input a solar array. Another business that we worked with was Capranero Creamery. They produce artisanal cheeses they have a herd of 30 goats, dairy goats, and their founder, Katie, is really great at producing cheese, but not necessarily the business aspects of running a business. And so Courtney was her coach and was able to actually help put together some business plans and some more sophisticated systems like point of sales, also moving them from notepads to technology. So as I mentioned, we originally worked with 40 entrepreneurs all across the state. We found out that was probably working with too many folks to deeply impact each of those businesses. We also had a distributed network of coaches all across the state, so the coaching experience was slightly different from region to region, depending on who was the coach. And so we developed this Real Business Innovation Lab concept, which is a cohort-based technical assistance program focused on working with rural entrepreneurs that are implementing scalable business models. But specifically, we scaled out and we're focusing on the natural resources value chain and not specifically just agriculture. And so this program has 4 main goals. Number 1 is to develop a learning network among these rural innovators in both Minnesota and Wisconsin. And we do that by providing customized workshop experience for the cohort members, as well as creating opportunities for them to expand their social capital networks by collaborating with one another. I think that was a point that was missing within the predecessor to this program. The bread and butter of this program is providing one-on-one consulting to each of the cohort members. So every week they'll have an hour-long call with us, and we'll work on a really specific business challenge that they want to address. And again, that's across the spectrum and really specific to each of the businesses, whether it's business planning, grant writing, access to investor circles, venture capital, angel investors, et cetera. The third goal of this program is to create an innovative finance pipeline for rural entrepreneurs. The resources that exist in Silicon Valley or places like Colorado aren't available to rural entrepreneurs, but the influx of capital is necessary to do things like research and development and really innovate. And so we'll be working to see how we can bring those resources and help people grow their businesses in the places where they want to grow. And then finally, there's these really cool stories associated with these entrepreneurs and their entrepreneurial journey. But also the parallel to that is the impact that those businesses being able to stay in their rural communities, what's the impact on the community itself? And so we're working really closely with our funding partner to come up with a mixed media approach and tell these stories over and over again in Minnesota and beyond. All right, now the exciting part, I'll move into talking about our actual cohort members, and I'll introduce each of them. The first is Stable Feed. Stable Feed is a premium equine food and supplement company. And I'm actually gonna let their founder, Mary Hartman, introduce the company and her entrepreneurial journey herself here. So hopefully this works.
My name is Mary Hartman. I am the founder and innovator behind Stable Feed. I started the company in 2017 kind of as a happy accident. I had a horse that was chronically ill with gastrointestinal issues and started exploring databases and information and vet journals to find formulations and ingredients I could use to create products to improve her overall health. It was an exciting and interesting journey, and the results were so extraordinary that other people started asking me to make these products for them and for their horses, and it was from that beginning with my own horse that Stable Feed was born.
So was everybody able to hear that? Great. So just a cool entrepreneurial story of solving a personal challenge that she was having and became entrepreneur by serendipity. They are currently shipping product nationally and have shipped product internationally, doing some exploratory work in Asia as well.
My name is
Another cohort member is the Meatery. They're an online marketplace for meat producers, specifically providing an avenue for consumers to connect with small-scale meat producers. They actually launched this company as a pivot to COVID. They are a hog producer in the kind of Mankato region, and they have this large aspiration of being the Amazon of meat. And so we'll be working with them to scale to that level. They want to produce videos where they help folks learn how to cook with different products. And so we'll be working with them on that journey as well. On the exact opposite end of that spectrum is edible insect protein. Three Cricketers is actually an urban cricket farm based in St. Louis Park right now, where they are looking to relocate to southeast Minnesota. And so we were working really closely with them on their journey to find a new facility where they can produce crickets. But they produce a variety of different food products from edible insect protein powder, which is really interesting because the protein profile of edible insects is very similar to that of meat. We use significantly less water, less land, and have almost no greenhouse gas emissions associated with them. And so they're balancing human health with environmental health. This is a unique member of our cohort. This is a rural veterinary clinic in Faribault County. So Faribault County currently only has one veterinarian that serves both small animals and large animals. And I think that their veterinarian has wanted to retire for quite some time now. And their economic development team has been working tirelessly to find a new veterinarian who will serve the large animal producers in that county and have been unsuccessful to this point. So we won't be working specifically on this veterinarian center, but developing a model that can be replicated and address the shortage of rural vets all across rural America. And that'll be some policy change, and that'll be some business planning, maybe some business structure conversation, but really excited to dive into that as well. Perennial Pantry is based in Northfield. They're a startup working on developing the market around Kernza. Kernza is a cousin of wheat, and a number of things that can be produced from wheat can also be produced from Kernza. But what's unique about Kernza is it is actually a perennial. So it grows for multiple years across the landscape. And there's this broader goal to return the Midwest back to a prairie system that we can also harvest crops from and meet our nutritional needs. But by having perennial crops on the landscape, it reduces costs of farming because you don't have the need to do other conservation practices like cover crops, as well as it increases the overall soil health profile. Clean water nitrate reduction is based in Austin, Minnesota, where I currently reside. They're an environmental engineering and services company specializing in innovative conservation practices. Their flagship product that they have developed is a patented filtration system that integrates with saturated buffers and reduces nitrate runoff by upwards of 90%. So that's really interesting. Depot Studios is another unique member of the Innovation Lab cohort. They are a nonprofit up in central Minnesota, and they currently specialize in processing milkweed pods, to fluffing them for insulation garments, so things like jackets, blankets, etc. But currently they have a network of folks that collect these pods off of public lands in Minnesota, but they are shipped out of the state to be processed into these products. And so we'll be working with them to control more of that supply chain. It's a 6-to-1 factor between shipping raw material versus shipping a processed milkweed pod. And then the final member is the Southeast Minnesota Food Rescue and Redistribution Network. They're a nonprofit in Southeast Minnesota that works with startup farmers from culturally diverse backgrounds, and they specifically have an emphasis on indigenous products and practices. There have also been a number of for-profit ventures that have spent off of this nonprofit, and so we'll be working really closely with them to understand how to enterprise all of these things and scale both the for-profit side as well as the nonprofit side to help them reach their mission of reducing food waste and reducing food deserts. Finally, we will be running additional cohorts. We will start recruitment for our next cohort at the end of 2023 and be launching that in spring of 2024. And there's just some general criteria here up on the screen. Of course, it must be located in a rural area or looking to relocate to a rural area. Again, the program is eligible in both Minnesota and Wisconsin. And there's a sampling of industries that we like to focus on: agriculture, ag tech, clean energy, sustainability, etc. It's certainly not a comprehensive list, but I would love to leverage the networks of all of you in this room to help recruit a robust cohort for the next couple of years as well. Finally, thank you so much for your time, and I just wanted to highlight our team members here. Courtney Bertie Swanson has been a co-creator and a co-conspirator on this program from the very beginning, and so thanks for allowing me to pursue my back-of-the-napkin program ideas. And then also one of our newest team members, Cameron Payne, has just joined as Sustainability and Entrepreneurship Specialist, and I'm really looking forward to working with you on this program as well. Thank you.
Good morning. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Ron Ziegler. I'm very humble to be the CEO and president of CEDA, and I appreciate you being here. It's quite a crowd. It's quite a day. We put Joya in charge of the weather again, and she's come through every time that we've done that. So I do want to say a quick thank you to Chris Gassner and Joya Stetson for putting this presentation, this whole meeting together. So if we could give them a round of applause. Rylan, did you know that since you bought one of the cheap tickets, you're behind the pole? That's okay. We are an organization that, as you can tell, has a lot of things going on. Why are we involved in everything? The reason that we're involved in everything is because we try and move the needle for rural America. Chris had mentioned that I'm going to be talking about the state of CEDA. I'm here to tell you that with your help, with the board of directors, with the contracts that we have, and with the communities that we're involved with, the funders that we have, the state of CEDA is very strong and getting stronger. We do like to recognize the different organizations and different people that we have during this time. I would like to recognize the board of directors. We have, I think, 5 or 6 board members here, so if the board members of CEDA would stand, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. They invest their time in this organization. They have the same passion for rural America that we do. They believe in our mission, and they are willing to dedicate themselves to this organization. I do want to say thank you to Michael Toohey, who has been our board chair for a number of years and is now no longer the board chair. You'll hear from Becca Sell in a few moments, but Michael does stay on our board as one of our board members. So I do also want to say thank you to all of the rest of the investors, not only the ones that funded today, but the others that are on our list on our website that have funded for years and years. We appreciate your investments in us. We need those dollars to do programming like you've seen earlier, and we just thank you for those. The last thank you that I want to do is for our team members. Our team members, as you can tell, we have a lot of people with a lot of different backgrounds. If you put all 45 of our resumes out on a table and tried to figure out what type of business we are, there's no way you'd be able to figure that out. So Robert had mentioned that Cameron has joined our team, and welcome to the team. She was the newest team member for one day. She started with us a week ago Monday, and we had another new team member that started with us on Tuesday. Our team members, we're up to 45 team members right now. When I started with the company 19 years ago, I was number 6. And if my math is correct, I believe that is a 687% increase in team members. So it's quite a phenomenal thing that we have going. I would venture to say that we are probably the largest self-sustaining, nonprofit, growth-oriented organization in the state of Minnesota, if not in the nation. So that is a credit to everybody in this room. Please give yourselves a round of applause. Robert had talked about the Rural Business Investment Lab. That is a brainchild of Robert's and Courtney's, and it was quite a thing that they got moving forward. They did put it together in such a fashion that caught the attention of Compeer Financial, and Compeer was willing to help us roll that out. Compeer invested $360,000 in CEDA to roll this out over the next 3 years. So we appreciate the investment in doing that. What that did lead to was further discussions with Compeer, with their management team, with their executive team, in what we do and how we do it, in the states that we do it in. And those discussions developed into more and more discussions, and probably over the last 5-6 months, I think, led to different opportunities that are out there. You know, how can they help us? How can we help them? What are the strategies to that? And what those conversations did lead to is something that I'm going to play for you right now. Chris will play it for you, actually.
Want to make an announcement today to the CEDA team and to all of its partners that Compeer Financial is going to be investing in the success and the growth of community economic development associates across Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois. And we're announcing today a $1 million investment in the community economic development associates and their team and their strategy to grow across these 3 great states. The idea behind it is to really be able to help create the growth that the rural communities that are smaller don't have the option to do, because you provide ultimately the model, the flexibility, really the cost that they can afford, and the ability to help organize and prioritize the projects in those communities. So we are absolutely thrilled to be investing and partnering with the entire CEDA team, its board of directors, and its partners. And we look forward to working with you over the course of 2023 and through 2027 as we make these investments. And there will be opportunities to meet milestones that will even create greater investment from Compeer into CEDA as we move forward. So this is a great opportunity for rural communities, and that's why we're doing it, is to serve them. So congratulations. I'm very, very excited about this partnership.
Thank you. That is quite a thing when you think about our organization. Brian Cranbeer is here from My Energy. He was one of the original board members of the old Southeast Minnesota Development Corporation, if you remember that. Back when I was hired, I think our budget was like $275,000 for the year. And when you take a look at the things that have been accomplished, it's hard to believe that as we look at our team members, we have a payroll every 2 weeks of about $110,000. And when you compare that to the original budget of $275,000 per year, it's quite an impact that's happening. So we are excited. We believe that this is a great partnership, and we think great things are going to be coming. So with that, I would like to invite our board chair, Becca Sell from Think Pink, to come up with words.
Wow, Chris, I would say our Lego set just got a huge upgrade, right? Well, I am Becca Sell. I am board chair. I am so honored to sit in this position. You guys are so passionate about what you do, your mission, and who we serve, and I'm am so honored to sit here and be able to champion and support you and see what you build with this new Lego set. So cheers, and here's to our success moving forward for the next 4 years, because we are awesome. Awesome, right? Thank you.
Thanks, Becca. Since I'm the only thing between you and lunch, I'm going to cut this shorter. But I am going to tell you that we believe in our mission. We are going to continue to dream. We want you to be part of that. We thank you for being part of it up to this point. And we're just excited about the future as to the way things will go and move forward. So if you have questions, think that we'll be involved in things, we're an organization, we say yes. We start out saying yes and start from that position. If we end up having to say no in the future, we do. But we're here to help, and we're going to grow rural America. So thank you. Now, before I give the microphone back to Chris, I do have to talk about golf for a moment. Those of you that are golfing, we are playing at the Summit, which is just to the west on Highway 19. We don't have any groups set up, so we're hoping if you don't have somebody to play with, we're just going to do a first come, first serve. Get 4 people together and head out on the course. We are we're going to try and have the people that are playing 9 holes together and the people that play 18 holes together. Mitch Mossman, raise your hand, Mitch, will be out at the course and help direct things. So thank you again for everything.
So technically, I'm the last thing between lunch. Guys, I think over the presentations and everything, you guys helped me figure out my new name tag. It's going to be Tech Guy. Because not only do we have different heights in this organization, but voice levels too, right? I know there's a volume every time somebody says a word, trying to get it so that we'll be guys out of here. Like Ron said, we have lunch brought to you by some area business. The meal is Cannon River Catering. We got some great food. It's Spring Grove Soda from Spring Grove, Minnesota. Our desserts are from Area 57 Coffee House in Wanamingo. And then, of course, Ron mentioned golf. I'm going to talk about wine. We have a wine tasting afterwards from Cannon River Winery. So hopefully we touch on something fun for everybody, right? We appreciate you guys taking time out of this horrible weather day to come and join us inside this beautiful location and celebrate another year together. The work you guys do in your communities is appreciated. We couldn't do any of the things that we talked about today or any of these meetings without the people in this room. And we appreciate you guys investing your positive energy in those ideas and helping grow communities do cool things. And that's our ultimate goal. That's our boiled down corporate mission statement. That's like a paragraph long. I just say we do cool stuff in rural communities. It's easier to say it that way. Thank you again for your time. My challenge, and I give you guys a challenge every year to this, I see a bunch of new faces this year that I haven't seen in this room before, and I hope that you do too. So I challenge each of you to introduce yourself to at least 2 people before you leave that you haven't talked to before. I can do that. This is John's point about growth. I can do that by introducing myself to 2 new staff members that just started with us. So I challenge you to talk to 2 people, introduce yourself to 2 people that you haven't met before, and increase your network and keep doing the cool work that you're doing in your communities. Thank you all for coming.